Hello, hello, everybody on Facebook. Welcome to Wise Women's Words. This is Glenda Kroll. I have a very special guest today. I'm so excited so you can meet this wonderful woman who I've had the absolute pleasure of working with a bit, and wait till you hear about her and her story and the information that she's about to share with us. So today I'm going to bring on Shamina Taylor. She is an attorney, wealth expert, and mentor, and helping high achieving women up level their personal lives and their businesses by teaching them how to become the most powerful and fulfilled, happy, and successful versions of themselves. With over 20 years of experience, Shamina is the top industry leader and has helped hundreds of women build their businesses online and off. And she also has been the creator of the Infinite Wealth, Irresistible Offers, Magnetic Powers, Emotional Self-Mastery, Activating Your Instant Manifesting Process System, and more. She is amazing. With over 45,000 members amongst her social media and her email list, leading experts in marketing to organic for new business lead generations. Shamina has been featured on Washington, D.C., ABC 7, ABC Sacramento's Your California Life, Medium's Authority Magazine, and Thrive Global. She is a force to be reckoned with. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Shamina Taylor. Hello, Shamina. Thank you so much for coming on today. I'm so excited to be with you here.
Hello, Glenda. Oh my gosh, this is awesome. I'm so happy to be here. This is amazing. I love this. Thank you for asking me to be here today. What an intro. What an intro. What an intro.
Well, what a woman. What can I tell you? I absolutely adore powerful women. And it's not that powerful women are here to bring people down, but a real true powerful woman is to bring people up. And that is why I admire you so much.
Thank you.
Now, what I want to start with, we say that you originally started as an attorney, and then you have changed your life over and now have become a wealth expert and a mentor. So can you share with us a little bit about your life and, how this came to be?
Wow. Okay. I always say we need a bottle of wine and we need about 60 minutes to get to it,
Okay, no problem.
So, yes, I still am an attorney. And I had this moment about 9 years ago. 9 years ago, I was asked to be in a yoga class. My girlfriend, she was having a TV segment done on her because we had just finished the show, and she was getting something done on the news. So I said, I want to go to this event. Anyway, I wanted to be on TV. That was the thing back then. What I wanted to be on TV. I had my cutest little lemon outfit. I showed up there. I'd been to maybe like 3 yoga classes, maybe at this point. Definitely not. I bodybuilt. It wasn't something I did. And I had my phone out so I could time it, when we were going to leave. And in this yoga studio, there's about 40-something people. I remember going to the cameraman and I said, hey, don't pan on me too much, but only when I'm doing something good. Anyway, midway through the class, she started doing a lot of jumping up and down, a lot of extra stuff. And I'm like, can she just chill out a little bit? Because she's showing off. Like, can you just look cute in this yoga class? And I kept looking at my phone, thinking about how much time had passed. And then this moment came along where we got into this pose, and this pose was excruciating. And I was in this pose, I don't know how long, but all of a sudden I'm like, I'm going to push through, because I pushed through everything. That's just who I was. I was a woman that was, aggressive. Nothing could stop me, not this yoga pose at least. Get into this pose, and all of a sudden I could feel this excruciating pain coming from my hips. And I don't know if it was physical pain or what was happening, but it turned into emotional pain. And before I knew it, I was fighting through, and then I started crying. I started breaking down on this mat and literally having the most ugliest cry I've ever had in my life, as this pain was like this unleashing thing that just came into me. And I was like free. As she was talking, she was like, are you living the same life, same day over and over again? have you forgotten who you are? And I'm thinking, I don't remember who Shamina is. I was this attorney, I had two beautiful kids, I had the house, I had everything. Like if you think about all the checklists of what success looks like, I had them all. I had extra because I'm an overachiever. But in that moment, I realized I wasn't actually very, very happy. I was just in survival mode, just getting through every day. And the class had ended and I stayed in this pose and people were coming up rubbing my back because I literally had snot everywhere. It was just one of those moments where you're like, you had to be in it. Like I was finally present in my life for that moment. And when I got up, I realized like something had to change in my life. I couldn't go on living another day like that. Like something had to change. So I call that moment my awakening. And in that awakening, 30 days later, everything in my life literally got turned upside down, like Fresh Prince said. And it was the beginning of my journey of rediscovering who I really was, not what I'd created in my life for it to look like or the achievements. It was like finding out who am I? Who is Shamina? And I started having a spiritual awakening and spirit kept coming to me. I remember going to see a psychic because you always do that, and you want to figure things out. And she's like, my third eye's closed. I'm like, my third what? I'm like, well, we need to get that bitch open. I mean, ASAP.
Yeah.
The healer started working with me. I had a therapist, and my husband at the time, he actually had moved out during this time period. We thought we'd take a separation, but he never moved back home. It was one of the things that I literally left behind the old identity, my old life to discover who I was. And I spent years, at least three. I do pockets of these where I call it the monk mode. I let spirit guide me, and I'm a very logical, methodical, evidence-based woman being an attorney. And I was tapping into this whole new world that I didn't even know existed in this plane. And my spiritual gifts just started opening up. I started understanding. I did a lot of healing work. And I realized that I had a bigger purpose here in this lifetime. While law was amazing and I'll never knock that career, and I always be proud of being an attorney because I still bring a lot of that into what I do as a mentor. I started just realizing like, oh, I could create anything I wanted to. The more I healed, the more things came to me. And I started creating a system of, oh, if I wanted more money or if I wanted more success, all I needed to do is get out of my own way. What was in my own way? A belief, a thought. It was my mindset, my emotions. And when I spent 30 years numbing myself, decades, numbing the emotions. And then literally they came like a volcano. And I was like, all right, can we just put the lava back in of the emotions? And that's not how it works. So I had to deal with my shit for the first time in my life. And I've been dealing with it ever since. And I realized that I have connected to wealth and money in a way that is not being taught, but I needed it. And the women who identify with me and my story and my pain and my struggle of being completely in my masculine, dominant that masculine energy, not a healthy masculine, wounded masculine, and learning how to heal that masculine energy, heal the feminine energy in me, and really understand how to access the quantum field. I went from this alpha female into the quantum woman, and I want all women to do that.
I so relate to everything what you're saying because your story sounds very similar to my story. So, understanding of being this overachiever and, I wasn't the lawyer, I was a paralegal. So, a lot of similarities, but it's, having that headset. So let's discuss, you mentioned a few things that I want people to start thinking of women, because the one thing is why I ask you to share your story is because I believe our stories are so powerful, because there are so many women that are fighting with their own selves and they're wounded and they don't have that energy to get up because they just don't know how, or they can't even recognize it. So when you talk about a masculine and feminine part in you, can you just elaborate a little bit on that?
Sure. So I actually didn't understand what that was. I always looked at being, I was a woman that got shit done. Like I literally, you tell me I need to do that. Oh, it was just going to get done. I'll find the way. And I had some childhood trauma that I hadn't really worked on, that had been dormant. And I thought I just ignored it. I'd leave it alone. But it literally compounded over the years. If you look back at all the experiences that I had in my life, it was just this underlying childhood emotions that I just blocked. And a lot of the women that come work with me, they have it too. They have betrayal, they have an abandonment wound, not feeling good enough. But what that does is it created this shield of protection. Like, I'm going to be successful no matter what. So their achievements, their accolades, the things that they could do where people could say, oh my gosh, you're so amazing. That started fueling them, fueled me. And so you go into that masculine energy of, okay, what's next? What do I need to do in order for me to look and feel like the person that I want to become, as opposed to just loving and accepting myself for who I am, all my mistakes, how I feel, how I think, just being me. That wasn't an option. Like, well, people just like me for me. I didn't cognitively think about that at the time, but looking back, that's, it was like what I had, all the successes, like, oh, well, she's amazing. And I feel like a lot of the women that come work with me, they have this shield up. They have not tapped into that healing. They're in busy mode. They're just so busy, they don't even stop to be present in the moment. It's like, what's next? What do I need to achieve next? What's that next result? Or how do I do this? How do I have this success? And the feminine is the trusting and the knowing and the ability to tap into your intuitive state. It's the spiritual part of you. It's like, it's the goddess in you, right? It's just, she is the woman that knows everything's gonna be okay no matter what. But when you're in survival mode and when you're in this mode of not knowing and trusting that your next move is going to result with it being okay, you want to know the plan every single day. But that plan that you make every day takes you out of your magic. And so when women come to me, like, I know you've methodically thought everything out, but you just throw that away a little bit. You have to have a plan. The masculine is really important, but learning to know that you've done enough and time when to lean back and trust is something that like 99% of the women that I work with don't understand, because they're forcing, pushing, making it happen energy, which is resulting in their businesses not performing, which is resulting in being in relationships that aren't healthy for them, which is resulting in them holding on to weight, which is resulting in so many things, loneliness, not sleeping, all the things that, because they're frustrated and they're burnt out and all the above.
So we go through this now. I understand exactly what you're saying, because my head is always about building plans and sort of having direction. And, I believe in just having a goal at the end, not knowing how you're going to get there, but it doesn't really matter. But I'm such a believer because I've had all through my life where I have this voice that sort of guides me. Now and that has led me through some spectacular moments all through my life. Is that something that most people have, that inner voice that guides them through?
That intuition's in all of us, but what we do is we don't listen. And you hear this from them all the time. I knew it. I should have done that. But what happens with the woman who's in her wounded masculine, let's say, and that's probably a term that not every woman understands, but in that dominant masculine, get it done energy, she's a doer, is that there'll be a moment where she's in the shower, or she'll get up in the morning, or she's just relaxing, which is rare, but she'll be in a moment where she's not doing anything. That's when those downloads come. That's when those big ideas come through. That's when the inspired action, the thoughts, the whispers. She hears it, but what she does is she goes, oh, it can't be right. Doesn't make any sense. Oh, I'm not going to listen to that. And you're great that you do listen to that, but it's like, if you can continuously listen and trust whatever guidance you're getting and not second guess it and thinking like, why did I make that up? Is that really true? Am I really feeling that? And that's the other thing. She doesn't feel, because she's so numbed out. And the feeling is that feminine, because she's so busy doing, she doesn't trust the emotional state that she's in. She's disconnected. So that's been a huge eye opener on my journey, is I had numbed myself. Like the feeling is that intuition is connecting to the higher sources in you. I literally have let that guidance guide me now with 1,000% trust. I'm like, oh, I saw a sign. That's something I need to be. When I see something happening more than once, and I used to question it all the time. I'm like, because I'm a lawyer and I need evidence. I'm like,
right.
Was that what I saw? Is that true? And then, spirit or the universe or whoever you identify with, like, here it is again. I'm like, okay, maybe, is it true? Here it is again. I'm like, all right, okay. Now I don't need 3 times. Now I go on the first one when it's something that just drops in. I'm like, oh yeah, move. And I don't sit there and get in the monkey mind thinking about it. I just take action. I listen. I tap in, and it's been the most magnificent guiding energy that I've ever been able to listen and tap into. It's helped me create what I've created in this last little while.
So I know that you have just hit over the $1 million mark in your business. Congratulations.
Yeah.
That is so awesome. And here we talk about very much, this is very powerful thing about a lack of mindset and an abundance mindset. Obviously, to create $1 million in your business, you now have an abundant mindset. But not everybody has this. How can somebody go into from a lack, and maybe you can explain a little bit of what a lack mindset is versus an abundance mindset.
Sure. So I was able to make $1 million cash in my business in 12 months. And
Amazing.
I can't say that it's because I did do things, but it was the energy that I was in, which has helped propel that quantum leap, that results. So when you're in a lack mindset, I'll start with that first. You feel like everything's running out. You feel like there's not enough. And I was in this place, even though I thought I was highly positive and I thought I was doing the work, I didn't realize that I had been living from limitations. When you're in this lack sense, it's usually in that victim mode a little bit. There's like the victim energy of what are people doing to me? What's being taken from me? And it's the little small self that wants to be feeling safe. So being in that lack mindset almost keeps you feeling safe because it's not in the unknown. Like, I don't know how the money's going to come in. I don't know how it's going to work. And with the lack mindset, it's like things are running out. I've got to get ahead of it running out, because if I don't get ahead of it running out, then it's more is going to be gone. And every time I spend, it'll never come back, and this continuously is bringing up the ideas of, well, I can't make this money again. I don't know where more is coming from. How am I going to get the next client? And it keeps you so stuck because you think that the world is limited. One of my mentors said the other day that they've printed more money in 2020 than they have, I think, since don't quote me on this part, but 1986. And there's so much money being minted. It's like there's a circulation. If you understand that wealth is there for everyone, like, for example, a woman who, she looks at another woman's success and she's like, oh, well, she just did that because she got that because she's this, or she got that because she's pretty. She can't think of like, oh, well, what did she do to do that? I want to do that too.
Yeah.
There's that limited thinking. Oh, well, they'll always find a negative angle to everything. And, this woman is not a good receiver when she's in lack because she's continuously protecting herself. And one of the most important energies of understanding wealth is learning how to receive everywhere, not just, money. You can't say, I want to receive $1 million, but then someone gives you a compliment and you're like, no.
Yeah.
I don't like that, because you don't feel deserving and you feel like you owe something to somebody. Like that keeps you limited. An abundant mindset knows, like, hey, there's so much money circulating right now. Like, oh, I'm going to just put a net out there. Like I said last night on one of our calls, I'm like, let me just catch it. And abundance is knowing that we live in a limitless world. Like there's no limitation. You don't have to say, well, I'm greedy if I want more. You just get to have more because you want more. And that's what I say. Like, you get to have it all. Like, more is always coming is what I say. And I went from a place where I did live in limitations. Like, I'd get so angry when Starbucks would charge me, extra for something that I was only paying 80 cents for, and I would just get so worked up about it. I'm like, what if you just decided that you're a wealthy woman in this moment? That this cup of matcha makes you feel so good. And it was something so small that shifted me out of that lack mindset, or to see where my limitations were. The way you spend money, the way you treat yourself, the way you feel about all the time that you exchange wealth for something, or you're in your wealth or receiving it, your lack will show up. An abundance woman is knowing that I can give you a compliment. I can celebrate you. It doesn't take away from me. I can even send you a client. I can put you in front of my audience, and I know that more is coming. I don't worry about the little things. I only know that there's so much out there that it's enough for everybody to get 10 times more in their lifetime. So it's just being able to access the more and know that the more is there. And when you can cross over that, it's amazing. I've seen women that make $15 million a year in a lack mindset, because they were raised with, you have to use everything. Like, you got to squeeze the last tube of toothpaste.
Right.
And so they don't, while they can make money, they don't know how to access that wealth consciousness.
Or to enjoy it with just ease, right? because I think that's one of the biggest things. I've seen it so many times with people who do have money, is they're so busy looking and worried of others that they just pull everything back. So, part of life I'm, if I'm not mistaken, especially about the energies, is being able to be in the energy of being happy to enjoy, even enjoying the people that you do have around you.
Well, abundance thinkers, they are happy for what they have right now. And the universal law is the more that you enjoy what you have in the moment, the more that it comes. The universe doesn't know the difference about you getting excited over $1,000 or $1,000,000. But if you believe that more and more is always coming, more and more will come. But when you're in a lack mindset, you're like, well, I'm not going to spend that money. Most of the women in lack mindset don't invest in themselves, or they're like, well, if I invest, I need to get a payoff. Like, this money has to come back right now. They don't understand that they're investing in their future, or they're like, oh, well, if I spend this, it's gone. The money's gone. When I spend, I know that I'm going to get this back times 10.
And
And
especially when it's spending for yourself, especially as us women, for most of us, we're caregivers, whether it's our children, our husbands, or our family. And the last person we tend to care about is ourselves. So, to turn around and spend money to go and have a spa day, you wouldn't dare think of that, because that's kind of like a waste of money.
right. And
So,
that's my beliefs that I had, was everything I spent was wasted. My mom wanted to do right by me, like save your money, because she came from that world. And I'm like, Mom, don't tell me I'm going to waste my money anymore, because that's giving me the belief. And so we have all these money beliefs that are just reconfirming our pattern behaviors that we had growing up. And it keeps you blocked.
yeah, absolutely. So here's David saying there are men out there that do the same.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. So what we're saying is it doesn't matter, men or women, everybody has either, these same things where we have an abundant or lack mindset. It doesn't matter what they are. And we're not trying to say that men don't get these as well. A human being is a human being.
I'm just talking about who I work with. That's why I say women. But yeah, men do it too.
Totally. So, one of the major things that you, I believe, start out with is self-mastery. And I can talk only about myself. Through the years of growing up, I was my worst enemy. I looked in the mirror and, I was a very tall woman. I didn't like my height because I was taller than everybody else. I was a little chunkier in my early days, and all I could do is look in the mirror, and actually tried to avoid the mirror. I didn't want to look at it. And I was just so down on me. And I know this is very common scenario with women. So how do we go through now and deal with self-mastery and becoming that's part of the thing of loving ourselves?
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. Like I say, with the women that I work with that are in their masculine energy, like in this way, is that they don't pour into themselves. They're disconnected from their soul. They're just like, I have clients that will tell me, I don't really know who I am, because they've put on a mask for so many years.
Yeah.
The achiever, the performer, the mom, the perfectness, and being that perfectionist and people pleaser, all of those things, they've failed at learning to love themselves, because one, it's not taught. It's like, as a child, the emotional state, our parents didn't teach us that. They didn't know that.
Yeah.
It wasn't like you get to be upset every time you cried when you were a kid. It was like, let me give you some food, or can you just hush and stop? Because they couldn't handle our emotions that we were feeling out as, new to the world. Like, even as a baby, it's like babies tell you their cries. There's a cry for when they poop. There's a cry for when they're hungry. There's a cry for when they're tired. And moms know that then, but then along the way, they forget that those cries are still there, or the happiness. And, then we go into a couple emotions. It's just like, just be angry, or like happy, or angry, or upset. So one of the things about the emotional mastery that I've found is the more that we get in touch with self, and we start understanding and loving who we are. Like, I remember the moment that I realized, like, oh, this is what it means to love myself. Not like the pedicures and the spa days. Like, those are great and women need that. But it was like, oh, I get to just accept who I am without, criticizing myself. Like, one it's like, you look at your body and we have things, but what about you as a human? Like, your heart, you get to say, I made some mistakes along the way, and It's okay right now. I get to accept myself. I get to accept where I am. I get to accept that I'm on this journey. I get to accept that I'm on the way there. And I always tell women that you're not broken. Like, things have happened to you, but they don't become you unless you allow them to be you. Like, our experience are there here in this lifetime just to guide us. We aren't them. You know, you are not what happened to you. And if you take those experiences and let them lead you, you start to learn to love yourself a little bit more, because you don't start judging yourself like, I messed up. I made a mistake here. This went wrong. You know, you give yourself some freedom and some space to be okay with who you are. And this is all about speaking your, speaking your voice, like your truth. Who are you? Your authenticity. These things all accumulate to being, I love myself because I feel this. I love myself because these are my opinions. I love myself because these are my thoughts. I love myself because this is my truth. And many women are so disconnected from their truth and their authenticity that they can't love themselves because they're pretending to be something they're not.
It's a very powerful thing to be able to come into the being of accepting yourself for who you are and not trying to be like everybody else, because everybody's looking at the Joneses, your neighbors, and everybody's got so much, and it's really hard to sit back and saying, we don't need to have it all. It's okay. And the errors that we go through, for myself, it's been some of the biggest learnings of my life.
I was the Joneses, and let me tell you, the Joneses, there's usually a lot of stuff that's behind all of that. Well,
oh yeah.
So I was the Joneses, and let me tell you, like, most Joneses aren't actually that happy. And the people that appear to have that all, they may have the material wealth, but they don't have this inner wealth, this inner peace. And to me, that is why that makes me super wealthy. Yes, I made $1 million in my business, but having this inner peace and this understanding, this love for self, speaking my truth, being authentic, not caring about what people think about me, you can't put a price tag on that. And that's something that people run from their entire lives. Like, my mask is off. I'll never put that on again. I don't even associate with that. And that's what I want other women who are in my space, and the men that are watching, that would be something for you too. Like, you don't have to be in living from ego. You just get to be you.
And that's the important factor that I have more respect for, is people just saying the truth and not looking for the acceptance for what it is. And I do understand, because I had that as well. I was in the life of being the Joneses, and
it's exhausting.
Yeah, well, it's those people are never happy no matter what. And I had it all. It was the same thing. It was, but at one point, my biggest aha was sitting back and looking at how much I was lying to myself.
Oh yeah, that's where I had that moment in the yoga studio. I'm like, okay, so I have it all, but I actually don't have the thing that I really want.
So let's talk about triggers.
Okay.
We all have triggers, whether it's somebody that says something to us, something that happens in our life. And how do we deal with these triggers? How do we actually even be able to understand what is going on in us when we have a trigger?
So emotional triggers is something that I feel I've really mastered. Now, this is what happens. Let's say you get upset. And this is where I teach emotional mastery. Say somebody has said something to you, and then you fly off the handlebar. You get really upset. Why do they do that? Why do they say that to me? Like, how dare they? And you want to, like, literally like write out this text or email or whatever it is to tell them off, or pick up the phone and tell them off. Now, this is where I used to go through and do this before. Now with this that I've learned is that trigger, that emotional response that I'm having, I'm allowed to have it, right? But what it's doing is it's showing me a place within myself that's not healed yet. That's still allowing an external circumstance to have me so fired up that I'm going to change how I'm feeling and lose my whole balance throughout the entire day. What I've had to work on over these years of 9 years of work is that every time something triggered me, I'd go in and I wouldn't put it on the other person. I would sometimes write out what I wanted to say, but I'd never send it to them, just because you want to feel the emotion. You don't want to bypass it. You want to feel, why are you feeling this way? Then you get to the root of, what was it about what they did that made you feel like that? What was it that made you respond in such a way? Because it's the response that we don't have control over. And when we're really highly emotional, we don't think clearly, right?
Right.
We want the other person to feel what we're feeling, so we want to lash back at them. But that doesn't breed for good relationships or for um, people to really be who they are, because a lot of people will have a response, then they'll take that and they'll become resentful, or they'll have the response to tell the person off, the relationship ends, or something will come out of it that's so extreme. Mind you, it's all us. We get to respond how we want to. So mastery is here. I take this trigger, I go in and I'm like, well, why are you feeling this? What is it? What is it? And if you can trace it back, trace it back. I start journaling. I'm like, what is my pattern? Why is this coming up every time this happens? Okay. Because you'll start seeing a pattern in your behavior when certain things, like for many people, it's their mother-in-law, or it's their mother. But,
Yep.
but it's not actually the person. It's just because where the person ranks with you and you needing to have their approval, or you needing to feel worthy. Usually that's a big one. Or you needing to feel important or special. Like that was one of my things. And seeking validation, whatever it is that you're needing, or if you have an abandonment wound and people are leaving you, you get really triggered, you'll start seeing the pattern in your relationships and your behavior with self. They show up in your life, in your money, in your business, in your relationships. So when those triggers go unhealed, unacknowledged, they are like ticking time bombs. And to me, I spend every single day of my life working through them. I'm not saying you need to go search for them, but when you see them coming up, one of the things that I teach the gals in my programs is to have a trigger journal. I think that if you can track yourself for 1 week, they say when you want to lose weight, you track your foods and your macros for a week.
Right.
If you want to become a master of your emotions, track your triggers for a week. Try writing down every time you get triggered, and you'll be astonished. The guy cut you off, driving. The lady at the grocery store didn't have milk and you went off the handle. It wasn't about the milk. It's something deeper. It's always something deeper. But what you do is when people have, pissed you off or give you an emotional reaction, you want to thank them. I'm like, thanks. Now I know there's somewhere that I need to go look. That's what I do now. I'm like, all right, thanks. Somewhere I need to go look so that I can become the master of emotions. Why this is important is because when you want to create your reality and you want to attract things into your life, you've got to clear away that energy that's stuck there telling why you can't have something. You got to clear away that emotional piece in there that's blocking you from receiving the desired result. For example, you want more wealth in your life, but you were raised on food stamps, or you were raised hearing, don't spend your money, don't waste your money. And every time you go to spend money, you get triggered. Well, guess what? That's going to be happening over and over again, and it's show up in your life.
So how do you get through those triggers?
Well, identification, awareness is the first thing. You got to, and it's work. It's not like one day, and then we do the healing work. In my program, Access and Quantum through Emotional Self Mastery, I have a module that I can't ever recreate, because that is like we go back to the childhood. We figure out where this initially started. Because what happens is a trigger that you might have now might have started when you were 8. But every single year, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, up until whatever age you are now, that same trigger is just literally compounded over and over and over and over and over again. Every time you have this reaction, you're just taking all those old emotional reactions, tacking them on like scar tissue in your emotional state. So that's why it's like a bomb every time it goes off, because it's a big trigger now, because it might have been something so small, like your mom telling you, no, you can't have that extra cookie, and you feel like you can't have more. And if I can't have more, how am I going to be rich? Or your mom telling you, shush, don't talk. If grown-ups are talking now. And then you spend your whole life never using your voice. And you just become a meek person, or, you don't feel like what you have to say is important. So it's getting back to the root of it. And I'm the master at that, I believe. And this is something that you can do if you're open to it. But people don't want to do work. So if you're willing to do work, it'll happen for you.
It's like peeling off the layers of the skin.
Onions. Yeah, onions.
Yeah.
Onions. And as you start this growth game, it doesn't ever end. It's like when people say, well, I thought I dealt with that. I'm like, okay, well, there's going to be a next level. It's going to challenge that same core wound or whatever you have going on in you. And then as you keep moving through it, you get easier with dealing with triggers. Like I can say not a lot really affects me, where my nervous system gives that response of, I don't have that anymore because of doing this work. But when you get that, feeling, you want to shut down immediately because that's your survival mode. Well, I don't want to do that. Then what happens? You trap all those emotions in your body, your human, and in your energy field.
So that leads to people having the anxiety attacks and so
100%.
forth.
That's
Yeah.
when women come work with me, they stop drinking because they're not numbing themselves. Like I'm almost like this new woo AA, and they get off of anxiety medications. They start learning to be okay with who they are and feeling what they want, and they lose weight because they're not doing all these external things of trying to just manage their emotions. They're learning to become that master of their emotions.
Yeah, instead of keep pushing it down.
Yeah.
Because that's what we tend to do, right? We push down our emotions because we don't want to feel. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so important. So, one of the major things that I try to do because of what I've been through in my own life is to empower other women to make it through. What golden nugget can you share with the audience of how they can empower themselves to make it through something that they're dealing with, and maybe they're shoving their emotions down, or not wanting to feel what they're going through, or maybe not even wanting to open their eyes to actually see what's going on in their own life?
If there's a result that you desire and you don't have it yet, what I would do is I would look at it and be like, all right, I want to be a speaker. I want to write a book. I want to become a mentor, or I want to make $1 million, or I want to have an amazing relationship. Whatever it is that you're looking for, this result, I would start looking back at why you don't have it. What do you believe is getting in the way of you having it? And you got to literally work yourself back through it. You got to go through, here's the result. And then look at your actions. Are you actually showing up every day to write the book? Are you getting online like Glenda right now and creating her life? Are you hiring the mentor that you need to hire to help you? Are you acknowledging what your emotional state is? Are you working on your mindset? The thoughts, the emotions will dictate the actions, and then it'll dictate the result. So in order for us to feel more powerful as women, we love when we see that things are working. So if you are not able to get this result and you are doing something that's not in alignment, you're not going to get the result. So going back, you're going to find out, where am I not aligned with this desire that I have, and how can I get in alignment, which means the emotional state, the mindset, and then taking an aligned action to get that result. So it's definitely like a 4-part step process, but when you start seeing that it's working, you get this momentum, and that builds power. Then you start believing and trusting in yourself. You get a confidence. All right, this worked. What else could work? And you start believing that everything starts to work, which is where I am right now. Even if things go sideways, it's still working for me.
Yeah.
That's power to me, because that's when you feel unstoppable. Because the fear doesn't jump up, the self-sabotage. I can't do this. Who am I? It's like, oh, let's go.
I love it. Love it. Yeah. So I know you offer quite a variety of courses, and if anybody is watching this, could you tell us how that we can find you?
Sure. Well, I love to connect, so friend me on Facebook, and either I'm on Instagram, Shamina Taylor, and it's all one word. And I have a free group called the Quantum Woman. It is for women, so sorry, the men that were watching, but follow me, friend me on Facebook, men. I'll let me if you want to connect. But the Quantum Woman, I put out free content all the time. Apparently, I'm a master meditator, and my meditations are amazing. Come and join the group. We have an amazing community. I have an all-access quantum mastermind, which Glenda knows about. If you want more information about that, message me. I have a program called Accessing the Quantum through Emotional Self-Mastery. It is foundational. It is, of course, the program you need to take before you want to take anything else. It's about mastering emotions, creating reality, and Infinite Wealth is another program that's amazing. So there's so many things, and I have a free one tonight. If you want to join the Quantum Woman, and you can be involved. It's about more money. Show me the money.
Perfect. Well, I'll put a link down in this chat after we're finished, so if anybody wants to come and watch. Shamina, thank you so much for giving me of your time and your energies, and you've got just so much information. You are just an awesome woman, and I'm very humbly blessed by having you also in my life. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I love you. You're amazing. Thank you so much. This is a pleasure. You are just so amazing. Thank you. I feel honored.
Thank you. And ladies and gentlemen and men that are watching, like I say, you can master your own life too. You know, it all comes from just stopping for a moment and just looking where you are. If you're not where you want to be, just stop now and just say, you know what? This is the time that I can work on myself. It's never too late to start. You know, I've started my life a few times in my life. I had to start from the scratch again, and it's okay. It's okay to be where you are and start over again. Give yourself a break. Give yourself a little loving and give yourself some understanding. It all starts with you. Once you begin and you're happy within yourself, you'll be amazed of how many lives you can change around you. So stop, give yourself that break, give yourself that little loving, and give yourself the acknowledgement that it's okay to do what you want, to rebuild where you want to go. Thank you so much for everybody tuning in today. And I hope that you have gotten some little golden nugget that's helped you on. And I look forward to seeing you on my next live. This is today's Wise Woman's Words, and I look forward to speaking with you soon. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you, Shamina. Be well.